All right. Good morning, good afternoon. Well, good morning, friends. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Patricia with Reach Out and Read. I'm here with Diane. She's going to be reading a couple of books for us today. She's going to start off with Harold and the Purple Crayon by Crockett Johnson. We're so excited to have her read for us today. And she'll follow up with the second book. You take it over, Diane.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Good morning. This is Harold and the Purple Crayon by Crockett Johnson, and it's published by HarperCollins Publishers. And let me just, there we go. One evening, after thinking it over for some time, Harold decided to go for a walk in the moonlight. There wasn't any moon, and Harold needed a moon for a walk in the moonlight. And he needed something to walk on. So you see, he's drawing something to walk on. He made a long, straight path so he wouldn't get lost. And he set off on his walk, taking his big purple crayon with him. There he goes, under the moonlight. But he didn't seem to be getting anywhere on the long, straight path. So he left the path for a shortcut across a field, and the moon went with him. The shortcut led right to where Harold thought a forest ought to be. He didn't want to get lost in the woods, so he made a very small forest with just one tree in it. It turned out to be an apple tree. The apples would be very tasty, Harold thought, when they got red. See all the apples? So he put a frightening dragon under the tree to guard the apples. It was a terribly frightening dragon. It even frightened Harold. He backed away. His hand holding the purple crayon shook. You see his hand is shaking? Suddenly he realized what was happening. But by then Harold was over his head in an ocean. He had made waves with the purple crayon. He came up thinking fast, and in no time he was climbing aboard a trim little boat. So he drew a boat and climbed in. He quickly set sail, and the moon sailed along with him. Turned out to be a sailboat. After he had sailed long enough, Harold made land without much trouble. He stepped ashore on the beach, wondering where he was. See his anchor? The sandy beach reminded Harold of picnics, and the thought of picnics made him hungry. So he laid out a nice, simple picnic lunch. I see a pie there. There was nothing but pie, but there were all 9 kinds of pie that Harold liked best. 9 kinds of pie. That would be a yummy lunch. When Harold finished his picnic, there was quite a lot left. He hated to see so much delicious pie go to waste. It looks like he ate a piece of each pie, but there was still a lot left. So Harold left a very hungry moose and a deserving porcupine to finish it up. And off he went, looking for a hill to climb, to see where he was. Harold knew that the higher up he went, the farther he could see, so he decided to make the hill into a mountain. If he went high enough, he thought, he could see the window of his bedroom. He was tired, and he felt he ought to be getting to bed. He hoped he could see his bedroom window from the top of the mountain. There he is, he got to the top. But as he looked down over the other side, he slipped, and there wasn't any other side of the mountain. He was falling in thin air. Uh-oh. He was falling in thin air off the mountain. But luckily, he kept his wits and his purple crayon. He made a balloon and he grabbed onto it. And he made a basket under the balloon big enough to stand in. He had a fine view from the balloon, but he couldn't see his window. He couldn't even see a house. So he made a house with windows, and he landed the balloon on the grass in the front yard. None of the windows was his window. He tried to think where his window ought to be. He made some more windows. He made a big building full of windows. Look at all those windows. He made lots of buildings full of windows. He made a whole city full of windows. It's a lot of windows. But none of the windows was his window. He couldn't think where it might be. He decided to ask a policeman. The policeman pointed the way Harold was going anyway, but Harold thanked him. See, he's pointing in the direction Harold is going. And he walked along with the moon, wishing he was in his room and in bed. Then suddenly Harold remembered. He remembered where his bedroom window was when there was a moon. It was always right around the moon. And then Harold made his bed. So he made the window, and then he made his bed. He got in it and he drew up the covers. The purple crayon dropped on the floor, and Harold dropped off to sleep. So he found his window and his bed. And that's the story of Harold and the Purple Crayon. I hope you liked it. I have another story for you. This one is called Little Blue and Little Yellow by Leo Leone. And it's published by HarperCollins Publishers. Little Blue and Little Yellow. This is Little Blue. Here he is at home with Papa and Mama Blue. Little Blue has many friends. But his best friend is Little Yellow, who lives across the street. How they love to play at hide and seek. See them hiding? And ring a roses. In school, they sit still in neat rows. After school, they run and jump. One day, Mama Blue went shopping. You stay home, she said to Little Blue. But Little Blue went out to look for Little Yellow. He didn't stay home. Alas, the house across the street was empty. He looked here and there and everywhere, until suddenly, around a corner, there was Little Yellow. Happily, they hugged each other. Now, what do you see happening here? And hugged each other until they were green. Then they went to play in the park. They ran through a tunnel. They chased Little Orange. They climbed a mountain. When they were tired, they went home. But Papa and Mama Blue said, You are not our little blue. You are green. And Papa and Mama Yellow said, you are not our little yellow. You are green. Because remember, they hugged each other. Little Blue and Little Yellow were very sad. They cried big blue and yellow tears. They cried and cried until they were all tears. When they finally pulled themselves together, they said, will they believe us now? Mama Blue and Papa Blue were very happy to see their little Blue. They hugged and kissed him. And they hugged Little Yellow too. But look, they became green. See the part where they overlap. Now they knew what had happened. And so they went across the street to bring the good news. They went over to Little Yellow's house. They all hugged each other with joy. And the children played until supper time. And that's the end of Little Blue and Little Yellow. Make sure to check out the Reach Out and Read of Greater New York website for a list of free print and video-based resources in English and Spanish, such as parent workshops, read alouds, and educational hands-on activities for your children. And enter your email to join a newsletter in which updates about Reach Out and Read of Greater New York will be sent straight to your inbox. Reach Out and Read gives young children a foundation for success by incorporating books into pediatric care and encouraging families to read aloud together. Now, you need a library card to have access to all the books at the public libraries in New York City. And there's libraries outside of New York City too. But in the city, there's Queens Library, Brooklyn Public Library, and New York Public Library, which is made up of Manhattan, Bronx, and Staten Island. And the links to these systems are in the video. So remember to get a library card if you want to be able to borrow lots of books to read aloud to your children. And those are my books for today. I hope you enjoyed them.
Thank you, Diane. Goodbye, everyone.